Your bond with your dog has a far greater spiritual impact than you might imagine. The Bible carries a clear message about the creatures that walk beside us, and what it says may surprise you or even challenge you. Dogs are not only loyal companions, they are woven into the fabric of God's creation as reminders of His love, His protection, and His purpose. Here is a truth that many overlook. The way you treat your dog shapes not only the life of the animal, but also your own heart. To neglect or mistreat them is to close yourself off from compassion, to drift away from the very character that God wants to shape within you. But to love and to care for them is to mirror the love of the Creator, to let His justice and mercy flow through you and to grow closer to Him in the process. Today, we will explore how your love for dogs can bring you nearer to God, and also the consequences of ignoring this responsibility. What you are about to hear could forever change the way you see that faithful creature who greets you with joy at the door or rests at your feet in quiet moments. Dogs in God's creation. In the very beginning, God spoke and the world was filled with living creatures. From the dust of the earth came birds in the skies, fish in the seas, and beasts that walked the land. And among them were the ancestors of the dogs that share our homes today. When God looked at His creation, He called it good. That includes the loyal companions who now curl up at the end of our beds or wait by the door when we return home. Think about it for a moment. Out of all the creatures in the world, dogs are the ones who chose to walk so closely with humans. They have lived alongside people for thousands of years. They guarded our homes, helped in the fields, went with us to battle, and sat with us by the fire. This is not random chance. It is part of the divine design. So, when you look at your dog, you are not just seeing an animal. You are seeing a piece of creation that God Himself called good, placed on this earth with purpose, and invited into human life in a very special way. The special bond between humans and dogs. The Bible tells us that Adam was given the task of naming the animals. Imagine the moment. One by one, creatures passed before him. Lions, eagles, sheep, and yes, dogs. Each was named, and in naming them, Adam was recognizing their place in God's creation. Dogs hold a unique place in that order. While many animals live in the wild, dogs became part of our homes. Their bond with us goes beyond survival. It touches the soul. Have you ever noticed how your dog seems to sense your emotions? When you are sad, they sit close. When you are joyful, they celebrate with you. When you are anxious, they do not leave your side. This is not just instinct, this is connection. It is almost as if God gave them the ability to reflect our hearts back to us, reminding us of the bond He intended between humans and creation. Think back to the day your dog came into your life. Maybe you adopted from a shelter. Maybe a friend gave you a puppy. Or maybe a stray appeared and, for reasons you cannot explain, you decided to keep it. Was that just coincidence? Or was it possible that God placed that dog in your path to teach you, to comfort you, and to reveal something about His love? The biblical call to care. Proverbs chapter 12 verse 10 tells us, "The righteous care for the needs of their animals, but the heart of the wicked is cruel." This is clear. To care for dogs is not just an act of kindness, it is a sign of righteousness. When you give food, water, shelter, or affection to your dog, you are living out justice and compassion. Each time you protect them from harm or comfort them in fear, you reflect the God who cares for all His creation. But the opposite is also true. Cruelty or indifference toward a dog is a sign of a heart that has grown cold. To ignore their needs or to treat them harshly is not simply bad behavior. It reveals a spiritual problem, a distance from the compassion of God. The way we treat dogs is not a side issue. It is a mirror of our own hearts. Dogs as reflections of divine attributes. Now let us think about what dogs show us about God Himself. A dog's unconditional love is one of the clearest reflections of God's love. No matter how many mistakes you make, your dog runs to greet you at the door. That joy, that loyalty, that eagerness to forgive and to love again, does it not remind you of God's faithfulness that never lets us go? A dog's protective instinct is also a reflection of God's character. Many families can tell stories of dogs who bark to warn of danger, stood between children and harm, or even gave their lives to protect their owners. In their courage, we see an echo of God as our protector. And then there is joy, the playful energy of a dog, the way they wag their tails, the simple delight they show in being with you. This is a small taste of the peace and joy God wants us to experience in His presence. When you love your dog, you are not just being kind. You are recognizing a reflection of God's nature and allowing His character to shape your own. The consequences of neglect. But let us also be honest. Not every story is one of love. Some dogs are neglected. Some are abused. And when that happens, the damage is deep, not only for the dog, but for the human heart. A neglected dog can develop fear, anxiety, or aggression. They may bark constantly, destroy furniture, or hide in fear. These behaviors are not their fault. They are the result of pain. And yet, while the dog suffers, something else happens in the person who caused that pain. Each act of neglect or cruelty takes a piece of compassion away. Each time we close our eyes to suffering, our hearts become harder. A house where a dog is mistreated does not remain a house of peace. The atmosphere fills with tension, anger, and brokenness. But a home that cares for dogs is different. It becomes warmer, kinder, more united. Love spreads through the family, and even visitors can sense the difference. This is why the Bible speaks so strongly. The righteous care for their animals. A vision of harmony. The prophet Isaiah paints a picture of the world to come. A world where the wolf lives with the lamb, where predators and prey lie together in peace, and where a child leads them all. This is not only poetry, it is a vision of God's kingdom, an eternal future where harmony reigns over every living creature. When you care for your dog, you are practicing for that kingdom. Each act of kindness, each moment of patience, each time you choose love over frustration, you are stepping into the values of heaven. Every bark, every playful run, every quiet moment when your dog rests by your side, they are all whispers of that promise. By living in harmony with them now, you prepare your heart for the perfect harmony to come. Stories of dogs as instruments of God's care. Throughout history, we see stories of animals used by God to protect and to guide. And in our time, countless stories show how dogs continue to play this role. There are dogs who have saved children from fires by barking until help arrived. Dogs who have guided blind owners through dangerous streets, keeping them safe from accidents. Dogs who have alerted families to hidden illnesses, detecting seizures or low blood sugar before any human could see the signs. One of the most famous stories is that of Hachiko, the dog in Japan, who waited at the train station for his owner every day, even after the man had passed away. For years, Hachiko came, his loyalty touching the hearts of an entire nation. His story is still remembered today as a living parable of faithfulness. There are also quiet stories, less known but no less powerful. A dog curling up beside a grieving person, refusing to leave their side until the tears stop. A dog running to warn of an intruder, a dog choosing to stand guard outside a child's bedroom all night. These are not coincidences. They are signs that dogs have been given a purpose. They remind us that God can use even His smallest creatures to protect, to comfort, and to show His care. Our spiritual responsibility toward dogs. Every dog that comes into your life is more than a pet. They are an opportunity to grow in compassion, to practice patience, to learn mercy, and to reflect God's love. From the beginning, God placed humanity in the garden to care for creation. That responsibility did not end with Adam. It continues with us today. Every act of love toward your dog is part of fulfilling that sacred mission. When you neglect a dog, you reject that mission. But when you embrace it, when you love and protect the dog God has given you, you step into the role of a true caretaker of His creation. And in doing so, you allow your own heart to be softened and transformed. Dogs teaching us spiritual lessons. One of the most beautiful truths about dogs is that they do not only receive care from us, they also teach us. God often uses the simple and humble things of the world to reveal deep truths, and dogs are no exception. Think about patience. When you are busy, distracted, or even late in feeding your dog, they still wait. They may wag their tail or look at you with expectation, but they do not give up. Their ability to wait, to trust that you will come through, is a living picture of patience. Is that not what God asks of us? To wait on Him with trust, knowing that He will provide? Consider loyalty. A dog does not care about your wealth, your success, or your failures. They love you in your best moments and in your worst. This loyalty reflects the covenant love of God, the love that never leaves nor forsakes. It also challenges us. Are we this loyal to our loved ones, to our commitments, and above all, to God? Look at humility. Dogs do not hold grudges. If you scold them, they may bow their head, but within moments they return to you, seeking closeness again. They do not carry pride or bitterness the way humans often do. In their humble hearts, we see a lesson that echoes the words of Jesus: to forgive quickly, to release anger, and to love again. Dogs also teach us joy in small things. A simple walk, a thrown ball, or even just your presence fills them with delight. How often do we forget to find joy in the gifts God gives us each day? A sunrise, a meal, the laughter of a loved one. These are simple blessings, yet we overlook them. Dogs remind us that joy does not need to be complicated. And perhaps most powerfully, dogs teach us faith. They depend on us for food, water, shelter, and love. They trust us completely. Their faith in us is not blind. It is born from experience, from knowing that we provide. In their trust, we see a mirror of what our faith in God should look like: steady, simple, and filled with expectation. In this way, every dog becomes more than a companion. They are a teacher, a messenger of lessons that shape our spiritual lives, if only we are willing to see and to learn. Dogs in everyday life as reminders of God. Beyond grand stories and biblical visions, dogs speak to us in the small moments of daily life. If you pay attention, you will find that almost every ordinary act of a dog points to a greater truth. When your dog waits by the door for you to return home, it is a reminder of God's presence waiting for us. Just as your dog celebrates your arrival, no matter how long you have been gone, God rejoices when His children draw near to Him. When your dog forgives you after a scolding, after an accident, or after neglect, it is a living image of grace. They do not hold resentment, they move on. They remind us that God's mercy is new every morning, and that we too are called to forgive. When your dog runs with joy at the sound of your voice, you see a reflection of how our souls should respond to the voice of the shepherd. Jesus said his sheep know his voice and follow him. In the eager obedience of a dog, we see a shadow of that truth. When your dog guards your home, barking at strangers or standing between you and harm, you see God's protection. Just as your dog stands watch faithfully, God stands watch over his children, never sleeping, never abandoning his post. When your dog rests peacefully at your feet, it is a picture of trust. They do not worry about tomorrow's food, tomorrow's shelter, or tomorrow's safety. They trust that you will provide. And in their rest, we are reminded of the peace that comes when we truly trust God with our needs. Even in play, dogs remind us of God's kingdom. Their joy, their energy, their ability to turn a simple stick into a treasure. These things show us that delight can be found in the simplest gifts of life. How often does God call us to return to childlike wonder, to see the world with gratitude, to live in joy? Every wag of the tail, every bark of excitement, every gentle nuzzle from a dog is more than affection. It is a signpost, a small whisper from creation pointing us back to the Creator. Dogs are not in our lives by accident. They are part of God's design. They were created with purpose, and their presence in our homes is an invitation. When you care for your dog, you are not only feeding or sheltering an animal, you are reflecting the heart of God. You are practicing the values of heaven. You are shaping your own soul. So look at your dog again. Look at the wagging tail, the eager eyes, the loyalty that never fails. See in that devotion a reflection of God's faithfulness. See in that joy a glimpse of His peace. See in that love the reminder that He is always with you. To love your dog is to honor God's creation. And in that love, you will find yourself drawn closer to Him every single day.